that on camera.
I mean, I took a picture of it. I sent it to
Yeah.
Ram? For our people.
To the group.
Oh my gosh.
Let's not be promoting that. Let's not be promoting that.
Yeah. No, it's safe for
We're a
work.
clean podcast.
Yeah. Most of the time.
Ish. Yeah.
Well, it's like implied. So you'd have to, if you were a kid,
Yeah.
would you really get it? I don't
Yeah.
know.
No.
They are smart
We say
Yeah.
JK puts a lot of little innuendos in hers, so we put a lot of innuendos in our podcast.
Exactly.
Nice. That's a good way of saying it.
Hey everyone.
Good morning. I feel like I'm gonna burn my tongue.
I'm starting your trend.
Oh, I let some out before.
I want to see the picture of the shell cottage because I didn't look last time.
It's not the greatest
Oh,
picture. It's a little boring.
Yeah, it's boring. Okay.
Womp womp.
Shell Cottage
Yeah,
is
I don't
like
even remember seeing
definitely a
that.
transitional chapter.
You want to see it? Oh, you like dissected it, so no.
So
Look
no.
on your own.
He knows every little detail.
I'm gonna need refreshers with these chapters though because I quickly listened to them and I was driving.
Yeah.
There was parts
I
that I was
listened.
like, I feel like I missed something. But
Yeah. Well, definitely give refreshers. There's definitely these are, I mean, not just fully like a recap, but they're kind of just confirmation of a lot of things we were thinking before.
yes, I was right.
About what?
Dumbledore
Yeah.
and the wand.
Yeah,
Right? I did say
I
that.
think so. Yeah.
You did
Yeah.
say
What
that.
did you say?
Dumbledore and the wand. How Grigorovich?
Yeah. Yeah.
I got the right G.
Well, Grigorovich had it first, and
Oh,
then
now see, I messed
Grindelwald.
up. Yeah, but Grindelwald didn't he give it to? Harry said
Not
something
sure.
quickly
Yeah.
in the last chapter and was like, Dumbledore's had it this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And then Voldemort goes to get it.
But maybe it's really not it. Anyways.
That's what I hope.
Okay, fine. Whatever. But I'm
I
just
don't believe
saying,
it.
I like my theory.
One of my questions was, because this
ready.
chapter you get like a lot of information. One of my questions was, Danny, do you believe anything?
Anything that we got.
we have inserted in this
any-
chapter?
It's all fallible, you know? Word
That's
of
why
mouth.
he looked like
and-
that to me in the car on the drive here. I was like, I was right. And he's like, about what? And then I was like, well, it was obvious, so I guess you don't believe it.
yeah, I literally did not at all. No, I shouldn't say at all. 25% chance. That's really it.
All right.
Maybe even 50, but no higher.
Wow, that's crazy.
So that's good or bad?
Well, I just think it's tough because we just don't know. And how would Voldemort even know if it's the real thing? And
The
how
real
did
wand. We're talking about the wand?
the wand?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it
Well,
just
I
feels
was.
like it would be pretty special to have Dumbledore's wand anyway because it's done so much. But if a wand is choosing a more powerful wizard, Ollivander just told us that it's like it kind of gravitates towards the one who defeated it or kind of like something along those lines. A wand could not look kindly on someone breaking open a grave and stealing it. That's not power. That's weakness. And so I'm just like, even if it is the wand, it just doesn't quite make sense. I'm just confused about it because
So would you say, like, even if it is the wand, its allegiance wouldn't be to... It would still be to Dumbledore? It wouldn't be to...
I guess like, well,
Or the
we just don't know what happens when you die.
I like how what Hermione said, though. She's like, you would never be able to break into that. And that was just terrible. So, along the lines of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Would it want to be with that owner?
It would not respect
Like, you don't have to
Voldemort.
kill people, it seemed like, to get a wand to, like you.
You just have to
like
defeat
you.
the wand.
To, like, want to be a part of...
Yeah.
What the heck is the relationship between a wand and a wizard? What do you call that?
I don't know. It's a great... We should come up with a term. That's a great question.
Yeah. The wand bond.
Wand bond. I like
boy.
that. The wand bond. What about the wand bond between...
But yeah, I'm trying to think of all the possibilities, and it just feels like this is not the way to get the Elder Wand.
Okay.
So if it is, it is
you-
not loyal to Voldemort.
Do
And
you
if it
think
isn't,
that
where is it?
Okay, so that's the question. Do you think it is the Elder Wand? If it's not, where is it?
It feels weird that he's been
Literally,
using...
I'm asking
Hogwarts.
Danny.
That's why you're asking Danny? Is that what you said?
Because you're convinced that it is, right?
You really think it is. And it could be.
I don't know. I just, like, want to be right. So, yeah.
Are there no pictures of the Elder Wand? Like nobody knew, and he's been using it all this time. And then like what happens to his other wand? It feels like a betrayal of the wand that chose you to begin with. You know what I mean?
But then does that mean that Dumbledore was using the Elder Wand this whole time?
That's what I thought. Yeah, like
I thought this was a bonus.
like a wand that he just had it in storage or something. Well, that's not right. If you leave a wand in storage, I feel like it would betray you.
I don't know. All right, whatever.
Like imagine that
salty
you're
at
like one of the greatest wizards alive, if not the greatest, and then you just keep a wand in a cupboard and you use some other wand. Like that's like
Why not? But I feel like Dumbledore would do that because it's like the death, like the story behind the wand.
If you have the Elder Wand, the Death Stick, it's like your other wand is going to pale in comparison. But is that why Dumbledore is considered the greatest wizard of all time? Because he
had the wand.
Like, was he greater before that? Like, he defeated Grindelwald, which is impressive. But what went on in that relationship?
Well, in my mind, that's when he got the wand.
Yeah.
Unless it was Polyjuice and he was the one stealing the wand to begin with. Could be. Which would be very clever. Oh, actually, we even think that's more likely because we a little bit trust Grindelwald. I don't know about you.
Who's we?
Yeah, I'm like, we all do, right, guys? How about this? Jen, do you think it was Grindelwald or do you think it was Dumbledore who stole the wand from Grigorovich? In other words, do you believe Grindelwald when he told
I don't know.
Voldemort that he never had it?
50-50. Because I was like, it could be the Polyjuice where we were talking about Dumbledore looked like him.
Yeah,
so
that was
way
something
in the
you had
future,
said.
which I kind of like.
Yeah, me too.
And then that way he could actually say, no, I never had it, right?
Right.
I get them mixed
Grindelwald.
up. Okay. Yeah. Every time. But yeah, no, I think. But then when they were like the duel and he like surrendered to Dumbledore, Grindelwald.
Is that what you think it was? A surrender?
I think it was just a fake thing to like get
fake?
people to talk and to seem like
Yeah,
the
maybe.
power shift or something. I don't know.
The fake thing, I liked it until we saw Grindelwald and he was like nearly dead in the top of this tower. Seems like he's been locked up forever.
But I think there was a plan.
A plan to just sit in a tower and be locked up for your whole life? I was just like, ugh. It kills me. Like, what? I guess
Greater good, Danny.
Yeah, that's fair. But I'm thinking for what though? Like, there's got to be a better part of this plan. Like, when they came up with this plan, they're like, this is what you're going to do. And then you're just going to rot away in a tower. And then maybe one day Voldemort's going to come and ask you about this. And you get
He
to
said,
like,
I've been waiting.
you get to have, I've been waiting. Yeah, you're right. So let's say he was. Then he gets to have his moment of, haha, got you. But like even that just feels weird. And then it ultimately just led Voldemort to Dumbledore anyway. So what was the point of all that if like in the end he figures out where it is?
I don't know.
Let's save this for the discussion because when they talk to Ollivander, there's a lot of interesting stuff. But welcome to the podcast. I'm John.
Jen.
Danny.
And Kristen.
And this is Harry Potter and the First Time Readers. You have a
Mine's
concerned-
going wild with possibilities.
A concerned look on your face.
Well, whatever. I'm just trying to think. You could keep going.
No, get your thoughts out now so you don't forget them.
No, I'm just processing what you said. If he had the wand, if Dumbledore had the Elder Wand.
It must have been the one he was just using though this whole time, right?
The Elder Wand was the one
That
that
is
he was
not
using
what
all
I
the time,
thought,
right?
though.
I
That's
just don't
not
like the
how-
idea of having multiple wands. That doesn't feel...
Why? Other people have it, don't they? I don't maybe no.
This is not a fair comparison, but I'm just thinking of like wives. We're making a wand comparison.
Oh
Yeah,
my
some people
gosh.
have multiple wives, but I don't like it. You know what I mean? And so it's
Wait,
like
what did you just compare
He just
to?
compared wives to wands.
wives to
Oh
wands.
my
Yep.
gosh.
And just because we're talking about the relationship and how the feelings and the emotions and the whatever, so it almost feels like a lot of
they
things
would be
can be
nothing
done, but that
without
doesn't
us,
make
exactly.
them the right way to
There
do
you
it.
go.
So I'm like, well, yeah.
You're a wand carrier.
You're my wand.
Yeah, well, you would have no powers without me, so.
Ooh, respect. So it's kind of like, I don't know. It just feels like I don't like the idea of Dumbledore having multiple wands. So I feel like this is the one, it was the Elder Wand, it would, in my mind, have to be the one he's always used. And then I'm just thinking, what if the wand Harry
But I
has
thought people
used to be
would've known.
Dumbledore's wand?
He said that people know what it looks like.
Did he? Who said that?
Ollivander. He said that people are trained to know what it looks like and the feel of it, and it has a stamp on it of authentication. So if people, this rumors would be going around because he's a very public figure, Dumbledore, and if he's using a wand that like everyone's like, oh, he has the Elder Wand. So your theory's wrong.
Nice.
Wait.
Please get that on
He has
the
a-
clip
he has
and
a
put it on
stamp?
Instagram.
Yeah, the stamp threw me off. I'd have to go read it again.
I mean, I did listen to it. I thought it said it has a stamp of it had a circle stamp of authentication on it. Maybe I'm wrong.
The wand?
Yeah. Okay, obviously with your
maybe.
face, I'm wrong.
I
but,
honestly, I don't
like,
remember what the
I
chapter
know.
said, but I feel like you're right. He said something along the lines of people who are trained to know what to look for or something. But maybe we'll have to read it again when we get to it. But I viewed it more of knowing the signs of like the wizard
All right, maybe
rather
you're
than the
right.
wand itself. More like you see things and think, oh, like this wizard is winning more than he should be winning, almost like other kinds of signs or something, or whispers of rumors and myths.
I'm gonna
but-
find what it says. Maybe I heard it wrong because I wasn't reading it.
Um,
But yeah.
yeah, I'll do the same. But either way, I think just the idea of wondering if Dumbledore had two wands and what happened to his old wand, and if it really was his wand, and if so, does Voldemort have the wand right now? And if he does, is it loyal to him? I don't think so. So lots of questions, but I kind of don't think this is the real deal.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
It's just, but then I'm curious where it is, and there are still a lot of open ends.
We'll go down both roads in a little bit, but one of the first things that happens in this chapter, actually, what's a quick summary of this chapter?
This is the chapter, the Wandmaker. So that's Ollivander, because Harry talks to Ollivander and Griphook. But before he does that, he buries Dobby. He does it the old-fashioned way, the Muggle way, because he felt like it was right. So he's hand digging this grave, and then Ron and Hermione came out to dig with him, and it's kind of somber, and they say a few words. Luna does. So it was a sad chapter, but then they're starting to like make a plan a little bit.
Yeah.
So kind of building
Yeah, right
tension.
here. They
What do we
have,
got?
well, maybe I'm reading into this. They have a ring of authenticity.
A ring?
But does that mean it's a ring of people? I thought it was a ring on the wand. So I read that as like a...
The layers. Wait, what the?
On
A
page
ring?
497.
What if it was Dumbledore's ring that
The
he was
ring of
wearing?
power.
It wasn't a Horcrux. It wasn't
It's on 497.
a ring of anything else. It
Just
was
saying.
a ring of authenticity, and he used to test the wand to confirm that it was the other
So
one.
in my mind, I was listening. I don't know why. I'm thinking of a red ring around the bottom of it as
Like a big old thing.
stamp.
And honestly, it could be. It
This
honestly
is the
could.
Elder Wand.
Like, imagine that. You just do a certain spell, and it reveals that it is the wand. Also, could you disguise a wand? Could you do like a transfiguration charm on a wand to make it look like another wand to hide it? Or are
Polyjuice
wands
for a
immune to that kind of
wand.
thing?
Wow. Were you done with your summary? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was. This is like both of these chapters, 24 and 25, were low action chapters, but some learning as they're getting their plan.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
What do
summaries
you
are
guys
pretty
think?
straightforward.
Just moving to two prior questions before we get to some wand lore. What did you guys think about Harry digging the grave for him? Because that was a tough line that you got
Very
almost in the beginning of this.
interesting.
He says, "I want to do it properly." Were the first words which Harry was fully conscious of speaking. Not by magic. Have you got a spade? And shortly afterward, he set to work alone, digging the grave in the place that Bill had shown him at the end of the garden, between the bushes. He dug with a kind of fury, relishing the manual work, glorying in the non-magic of it. For every drop of his sweat and every blister felt like a gift to the elf who had saved their lives. That's so sad.
That was sweet.
Yeah. What do you think about him not using magic?
I think that was nice, like tribute to Dobby, because it takes effort.
It takes effort. Ooh, yeah, nice way to say it. But it's weird that he said properly. Like the Muggle way is the proper way. I love that acknowledgement a little,
Yeah.
you know?
Just remember his upbringing was in the Muggle world. So
Yeah.
he's probably thinking that's the proper way in his
Yeah.
world, in his upbringing. You know,
Yeah, you're right.
He might have thought differently if he was actually raised as a
Right,
wizard.
right.
Yeah,
No, you're right.
That's a great point. That was fascinating to me too, because like in my mind, I'm like, that feels right. Like I don't know why, but I know they dig graves with like huge excavators now, but it almost feels wrong to do that.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're
Like
so
I'm
right.
like, you got to put your like blood and sweat into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
For like someone who's a witch or a wizard, maybe it's like even when they put the dirt on the grave, Bill just like swept and all the dirt just fell back on, and I was like, maybe for wizards that's the proper way to do things.
Because it's so clean and pure
Yeah.
and like thorough, and there's no mess left afterwards. So I get that too, but I did like, it's my muggle ways. I liked that Harry said that was the proper way to do it. And I like what you're saying, the effort. I feel like there is
Sweat
something to be
tears.
said for that. And it kind of shows that Harry still views some of the magic as being a shortcut and not necessarily a good one either. Taking the easy way to do something, and some things are worth taking more effort to learn the hard way.
Yeah. Even with this, there's another line it says Dobby would never be able to tell them who had sent him to the cellar, but Harry knew what he had seen. A piercing blue eye had looked out of the mirror fragment and then had come to help. Help will always be given at Hogwarts to those who ask for it. What is the deal with the mirror? So again, is Dumbledore alive?
I sometimes want to say yes. Depends on the day.
I wish I could. I just don't believe it. I'd be annoyed if he was alive. He can be alive in spirit, and that's about as much as I could accept at this moment.
So who's in the mirror?
Like maybe him. I don't know. So who?
I just find it weird that it's Sirius Black's mirror.
He's the,
Yeah.
yeah. Sirius gave it to Harry,
So I'm like, why wouldn't it be Sirius?
and I used to always say that I
Why
thought it
is
was
it Dumbledore?
twin mirrors. Like I thought there'd be two. I thought
Yeah,
it was a way
there
of
was.
communicating. Right? Okay. So where's the other one?
Yeah, it's a great question.
And
With Dumbledore hiding.
but like, and then
In a
so
cave somewhere with Dumbledore.
I'm glad that was not just in my head, and that was actually like a fact.
No,
but then,
yeah, it's been a fact for a while.
all right, good. But I like clarifying. And so, if the mirror was on Sirius when he went through the veil, then would it be on the other side of the veil? Can it be used to communicate
It
the
wasn't
other side
on
of the
at the
veil?
time, I don't think.
So then,
but
I
if
thought
it
he
was,
found it
maybe it's on the other
later
side of the
on.
veil. Huh?
He found it later on in the house.
Yeah, they
didn't
found
he?
it later on in the house.
Yeah.
Oh, who did?
I don't know, but the crew.
The crew did. Well, it just feels so
Someone in the
weird.
books found it in the house later
How
on.
could it be like?
That is fascinating. If you carried it over, if there was like a national.
I do
bridge that you'd
keep
have.
thinking of the veil as like something because it was such a big
Yeah,
moment.
Yeah.
And also because Harry kept hearing voices.
yeah.
And because we know that in the story, like a veil was kind of almost mentioned, like death had a veil. There was something to that.
The veil was torn.
I don't, yeah, nice. I feel like there was like a certain something about it where you're like, what is going on? This veil, is this like, I had images of the invisibility cloak being cut where part of it is the invisibility cloak, part of it is actually the veil over this little archway. But I just can't picture how this mirror ends up somewhere where Dumbledore has it. And we just went to Dumbledore's grave and he was there, right? So it just feels weird, like how...
He's at Hogwarts, right? Is what
Yeah,
It
like
was-
it sounds
his
like it
grave
was
is
down by
at-
the lake at
Yeah.
Hogwarts.
I missed that. So that's why I wanted to confirm.
And this was kind of a weird chapter where Hogwarts gets more crazy. You're like, Voldemort is just showing up to Hogwarts, blowing graves apart.
But Harry was
Ginny's
able
getting
to-
captured by Death Eaters on the train to school, and
No,
people are
Luna.
like,
that
"This
was
is-"
Luna.
Oh, Luna, sorry, yeah. And I'm
I
like,
was like,
that's
I
just
missed
normal.
that.
I know, me too.
I've never read that before.
That sounds intense.
It's a whole
Not
new
the hot
story.
tamale.
I know.
So it just feels like then all of a sudden Hogwarts, I'm like, it feels like a sham. I'm like, they're not
Yeah.
even learning. It's just like chaos over
But I
there.
thought that if
capturing
you
students.
ask for help, you will receive it from Hogwarts or something. So that's why I find it
Yeah.
interesting. I
Dumbledore
don't
said that
know.
at Hogwarts. So does that mean that's where the other mirror is? At Hogwarts? Because Harry asked to the mirror, kind of? And then
So I mean, the question is, where is the mirror? But I mean, the location is important. But who do you think has the mirror? So Dumbledore is an option. Who are other options? Who you think?
Snape.
Snape. I don't know if he has blue eyes, but
I feel like Dobby was a fair
I
option.
know. That's what I thought. Dobby had blue eyes, right?
would you be able to differentiate Dobby's eyes? and
Yeah,
Dumbledore's eyes?
it couldn't be
No.
Dobby's eyes, but could the
Polyjuice.
Yeah, exactly.
we viewed the mirrors as communicating to each other, but
Oh,
what
I
if it
also
wasn't
said
that?
it was Harry's parents, right? But
Mhm.
it would have to be green.
Most of your theories
It
are dead
wouldn't-
people.
Yeah. Honestly, that's the
yes,
weird part.
most of my theories are dead people.
But who
And
else
maybe
do we
they're
know that
alive
has
some-
blue
The
eyes?
only thing that I find weird is like the wand thing where everyone came out and was talking to Harry and like protecting Harry when he was fighting Voldemort in like book 3 or whatever.
Right.
And so it feels like dead people can come and have a presence and help. So that's what I'm trying to follow throughout. The series.
Yeah. And that's what it feels like with Dumbledore a little bit. Like, and Horcruxes kind of are the same idea. Like, you can leave a part of yourself behind, and Horcruxes, it's like murder, broken heart, bad. But like, what if there's a good thing of that? You're like, you can like leave a part of yourself
Oh yeah, you
for
do like
someone,
that.
you know, like something. And just the idea of ghosts in general, like that feels unhealthy with something unresolved on Earth. So you're not actually ready to pass on. But what if there's like a healthy way to do that?
I'm not talking about ghosts.
No. I'm not necessarily either,
Oh.
but I'm just saying the idea of like, even when your body dies, a part of you remains, and we're trying to figure out what that looks like. And Voldemort is doing the most unhealthy extreme. Then ghosts seem to be another unhealthy extreme. Then whatever was in Voldemort's wand that were helping him in the graveyard when Harry was like fighting him, that also feels like another something. So could Dumbledore have found a way of doing that again in a different way, with the mirror, leaving a part of him there? Do mirrors connect to paintings at all? Can you like there's got to be something more to this, obviously, that we just don't understand. Because I want it to be Dumbledore, and I can't think of who else it would be. Did Moody have blue eyes?
No, I think you asked that before, right?
Because for whatever reason, I kind of thought
But
he
has
maybe
one
did.
not real eye.
Yeah, he has one not real eye. So if he was looking with this real eye, it'd be hard. If he was looking at this fake eye, you're like, oh, that's Moody.
There it is.
So
And
you're,
it was
are you still?
unmistakable.
Are you? Would you say Moody is still alive? If that's the case,
You know what? I kind of think he is now. Only because we didn't get
He
a
has
good.
blue eyes.
I thought it was a bit of a long shot to say it like that, like, because I don't see how this could have been him anyway, or why he wouldn't be jumping in to help them with other things. But I feel like there is a genuine possibility he's still alive, but I don't know where he'd be and what he'd be doing, and
The only thing
it
is
might not be true at all. I want to
when
believe
they
someone's still
reset
alive.
one. So we go back to that phrase where he's like, "If you ask, Hogwarts will help you," or whatever.
Help will be given to those who
The-
ask at Hogwarts.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe.
yeah, pretty much.
But the part that gets me
But
is at
Dobby
Hogwarts.
is not of Hogwarts. He's a free elf, so that's.
But he
also
does work
weird.
there.
Does he work there?
Yeah, I think, right? Like,
Well, that's what
willfully
I was
employed.
trying to. Is that okay? So then he is from Hogwarts.
Well, it makes me think then that
I
that's
guess
where
you're right. Yeah.
the other part of this mirror is, at Hogwarts. Whether I don't know, and so it's a little bit strange, but I feel like maybe there was also something in these chapters, when we get there I'll see, where I thought the "where your treasure is, there your heart will be" was pointing to Hogwarts, because something about treasure and learning or something. And so I just thought there were a couple things in these chapters pointing to Hogwarts. And then Voldemort going there at the end, I was like, oh man. So again, it just makes me think the mirror could definitely be there.
But what the heck, Dumbledore? Like, you left no clues.
Okay, great point. Let's transition to talking about Dumbledore, because that's a tough one. There's two lines. I love Harry's conviction in this chapter. When they're like gonna take the two people away, and Harry goes, "No." And Bill looks startled. "I need both of them here. I need to talk to them. It's important." He heard the authority in his own voice, the conviction, the sense of purpose that had come to him as he dug Dobby's grave. All their faces were turned toward him, looking puzzled. And then he has this line where he says, "You gave Ron the Deluminator. You understood him. You gave him a way back. You understood Wormtail, too. You knew there was a bit of regret there, somewhere. And if you knew them, what did you know about me, Dumbledore? Am I meant to know, but not to seek? Did you know how hard I'd find that? Is that why you made it so difficult, so I'd have time to work that out?" Is Dumbledore right here? And why didn't it, like, why is Dumbledore, why did he not give them a lot of information? Is it just because Harry didn't ask for it?
No, I don't think so. I think Dumbledore knew Harry didn't know enough to ask. He never could have asked about Deathly Hallows or even Horcruxes. Dumbledore had to bring him there to like really get him to go there. I think it was for a reason though. And this chapter, maybe
I
just
hope
because I
so.
identify with Harry, I'm starting to trust Dumbledore again, as Harry does, and say, yeah, it does feel like he had a plan. And again, just reinforcing that thing of like, he needed to be betrayed by Snape. It's like the idea of like, that betrayal was all part. Was that directly in the mic? Nice.
I'm sorry, everybody.
Well, that's gonna be your mic for now
I'm
on.
here.
I did go into my.
Okay, nice.
It wasn't like fully directly. I was just thinking noise wise.
Yeah, full
Sorry,
blast
everybody
for
got a full on
someone.
sneeze on that
Yep.
one. Keep going.
So it just makes me trust Dumbledore a little more, as Harry does, but it's still, we don't know enough to know. So then we're like, we're left wondering, what was the plan? And what is Harry supposed to do? He still doesn't actually know. Horcruxes or Hallows, the question you asked us. Harry asks himself in these chapters.
Yeah, maybe that's a question. Does he know? He seems like he has conviction in this chapter, and then he takes it back. Like, this is a really cool chapter because you see his leadership. He's like, we're going after the Horcruxes. And then the next chapter, he's like, did I make a mistake?
It's so strange. And even not telling Bill and Fleur, he somehow was able to just do that and say like,
What does he have?
A
leaf.
It's the leaf. It's all right.
Nice,
just wanna
Wes.
make sure it's not poisonous.
So I was just curious why he was so convicted about that thing Dumbledore said. This mission is for you guys. And even that, like, well, Dumbledore did say don't tell anyone, right? Specifically.
Yeah, just like the three of them are supposed to know.
So there is a deep trust where Harry's saying, Dumbledore said this, we're going to do it. But Dumbledore also said, look for the Horcruxes, right? Like, kind of directly.
But also, why isn't he
So-
trying to figure out the snitch thing too?
Yeah, it does feel like he kind of gave up.
Kind
But
of like put that on the back burner. But like, what if there is something in there? That maybe it's the ring, but maybe it's more information. I don't know. Maybe it's the Elder Wand.
It's a little roll of parchment that he wrote. All the information
wrote a
is given in
whole
that.
thing on there.
Really small handwriting.
It does feel really weird. But,
I really hope that I get answers to all this at the end.
we
that-
will.
We better.
Oh, we will.
Jen's like, I did not go 2 years for this for no answers.
Because this Dumbledore not telling me stuff, I would be so annoyed. Like I'd just give up maybe.
Well, I think it's strange that Dumbledore
It's
gave
so
them enough
annoying.
for clues, but not everything.
But they're not even real clues.
Well, that's what's so weird. So, like, at what point do you just trust him and
I
say,
was trying to,
whatever
like,
is going to
dig
happen
into
is going to happen, or do you keep pursuing these clues? They needed to pursue some of these clues, or they wouldn't even know what's going on. And it feels like, did Dumbledore want them to know about the Hallows?
He should have
I
just said. I
think
feel like he
so.
should have went along with it though. Like, hey, like when he was oh, it makes me so angry.
What?
The pensive, right? He's showing him all of these like history of Voldemort when he was a child and to find these Horcruxes. And in that meantime, he could have been saying there is also a juxtaposed.
Nice word.
You said that,
You're like, ooh, I just used a big old vocabulary.
No, because
You're like, wait, did I use it right?
I was trying
oh,
to think
no.
of what the Deathly Hallows would be. And go along with sharing. I'm not at loss.
Sorry, I threw you off. I shouldn't have said anything.
No, I was just trying to think of what the theory of the Deathly Hallows.
So you're saying how they're kind of like,
I wish he would have just said more about it and be like, oh,
Yeah.
you might hear about this thing. It's not real. Or you might hear about this thing in the future. It is real. I actually think you have the cloak. And if you ever find these two and part of the mission, pick them up because they would be useful. Or don't touch them because they're not like something.
Yeah.
How does this change the conversation knowing that Dumbledore was possibly in possession of one of the Hallows?
Or all three of them.
literally could be all three.
Yep.
He's got the wand, Harry's got the cloak, and he had potentially the ring or the stone if it
But
was
then
from
that
the
means
first
if he
book.
had
If that
all
is.
three, could he actually be alive? Dumbledore.
But how though?
I'm just saying it's to
Because
beat
Xenophilius
death,
said
right?
it makes one master of death.
Master of. Does that mean you can't die? But then, well, I guess the weird part is what makes that different than just the Philosopher's Stone?
That's what I'm saying. Maybe it was the philosopher's.
I mean, maybe it was, but then
I
like,
don't
what
know.
makes having all three
Maybe the
different
ring
than
was
just
the
having the
stone.
one stone or the ring? Yeah.
So maybe he had the ring on, he had the wand, and then the cape was right next to him with Harry.
Right. So he could have had all three, and if he had the
When he
Elder
was
Wand,
dying.
he could have had all three, literally when he was dying, or any point during Harry's schooling. But unless it was the
But then
Philosopher's
Voldemort
Stone, he
can't know
destroyed
about it,
it.
so that's probably why he didn't tell him, because he would have been able to see in Harry's mind
And that was
all
too
this
important.
stuff. And Voldemort wouldn't know about this whole theories or whatever you want to call them because he didn't grow up in the wizarding world, which was the whole point that they said. You learn these stories growing up as a wizard, but if you're Muggle born or whatever,
might not hear
you're
them.
not going to hear about them.
Okay.
So he probably was clueless about this, and maybe he's piecing it together, or maybe he thinks only the one exists.
I guess the weird part to me is why Dumbledore would be so careful not to share it with Harry.
Because he could get...
Well, what I'm saying is, it sounds like Dumbledore already had all of them. So what's the fear? Like, what's Voldemort going to do? If he had them all.
He was training Harry to be like a better wizard.
I guess.
I don't know.
It feels close, like, to something.
But
But
that's
I'm just
also
not
how
quite
he
getting the
acted,
logic.
though, Dumbledore.
Yeah.
He was literally on, like, missions to, like, figure out
Yeah.
the history of Voldemort instead of caring about, like, training people and
Yeah.
having a game plan and whatever. So it does
Yep.
feel like he was like, okay, I'm good. And I have all three.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had the confidence of, like, being in control most of the time. But we did see moments of, like, not as much control. But yeah, it is just strange.
Well, I guess when he
still.
was trying to kill the Horcrux, that was weird. Seeing
Yeah,
him
and
so
even just the fact that the Horcruxes scared him. If he had the Elder Wand, which can't be defeated, it just feels strange that he couldn't just go fight Voldemort head on. And it was, again, there might be more prophecies we don't know about. There might be other weird things to that. But I don't know. Something about it feels strange. And I can't figure out what. And like I had also said in, what's it called? Nurmengard. Grindelwald being there.
What
Was
is
anyone else
that?
there?
No idea.
That's
Thank
the
you.
jail where Grindelwald was kept.
Oh, yeah.
And he's in the topmost cell. Well, then if that's the topmost cell, what are all the other cells? And who's in there? And why? And so is this
Only
just like
you would think of
Azkaban,
that. I don't
but
even
not
care.
run by the Ministry?
I didn't even remember that existed.
Varengard is the prison that he made himself for his enemies.
Yeah. And so did he put people away before he got captured? And then all those people got set free, maybe? We still don't know if we're supposed to really trust Grindelwald, but we kind of are thinking, yeah, he's boys with Dumbledore or whatever. I don't know.
Okay, even another question on Wandlore that's a little different than this one is Harry the rightful owner of Draco's wand now? So this is going to talk about the transition of wand powership.
He said it
Or-
felt nice in his hand.
Yeah.
He did.
Draco's wand felt nice.
Oh, boy.
That's what he said.
No, he did say that in different words.
Sorry, that was my fault. That's
Oh
fine.
my god.
No, that was Jen's fault. I feel like she kind of knew as she was there. You didn't.
I don't know. They just come out.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense to me, and again, it reinforces, like Ollivander kind of explained too, that if you win a wand in battle, there's a loyalty there that you're not going to get if you do wandmazon.com. Yeah. You know, it's like it's different. It's a different loyalty when you earn it.
Are you gonna make wands on the side and sell them?
Well, we're
On
still
the wand.
Yeah.
we're,
design.
yeah,
Amazon,
we're still
yeah.
trying to crack the code to how a
Online
wand
vendors.
can choose the wizard.
Yeah.
And once we crack that code, then
I don't know.
I
You
think we'll be
seem
ready.
like you're getting there.
Yeah, we'll see. We can make wands, and then we could give them to our hot tamales.
Oh, but technically wives are wands, so like, what does that look like?
He's never gonna live that down now.
Yeah. So
How does wand? So is there a better change of ownership when someone defeats another person? Is there even a stronger change of ownership when someone kills another person? Does the
ooh,
wand just
interesting.
completely change allegiance to them?
I feel like he
Stronger.
didn't clarify that exactly, right?
Yeah, but
just
He
said,
didn't
like-
know.
yeah, it feels too vague. Like it's one of those things where it kind of depends on the
Well, because
wand,
he kept
depends
saying,
on the
"Will
means.
it work for me?" He's like, "I think it will." Right? Like every time they're like, they
Yep.
have all these wands to use,
Yep.
and he's like, "I think it'll be okay."
Because he said he's talked about how Bellatrix's wand is unyielding, and then he said this wand was the wand.
Oh
of
yeah,
Draco
every
Malfoy.
wand. Didn't he say all of them were
Yeah, yeah.
like past
Ollivander
tense?
could tell. Oh no, was because he maybe sold it to Draco.
No, I took it as the whole conversation was like, this was Bellatrix's because now it's whoever possesses it. This was Draco's because now it's whoever possesses it.
Okay.
Like it can turn into your wand. If
That's a great
is
point.
that how?
Yeah,
I thought he
I
sold them
read-
all their wands, and that's the only reason he knew.
No,
You're saying he could
I
feel
read
it
it
in the
like-
wand. He's like, this.
Well, I
used
think it's
to
a little
belong
both. I
to.
think he-
Okay.
I think
No, well,
Ollivander intrigues me a little bit because I feel like he has such a perfect, like he's tracking wands so much so he can figure out like,
Yeah,
where the
you're
other
right.
wand is. So like he knows every wand that he sold, like memorize it. Like I would like almost equate it to like a chess grandmaster memorizing games of how to play.
Yeah, right.
He's memorized every wand that he's ever sold. But on top of that, Jen's theory I think is a little closer because it seems like in this moment he like holds the wand up, he recognizes who it's by, but then he seems like he's talking about ownership here, where he's like, this belonged to Bellatrix, but then it belonged to her, but he says now it's unyielding, don't use this wand. And then he says this was the wand of Draco Malfoy. Here he goes, was? And he goes, its allegiances might have changed.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I forgot it was so specific.
Yeah.
but it's interesting how Harry could feel it too, right? Like he like picked
He
up
knew.
both
That
of
is
them,
so
and he's
cool.
like, oh, this feels more comfortable
Yeah,
for me to use.
better than the other
Bellatrix
Blackthorn
is
wand, yeah.
unyielding. Well,
And then the one
Huh.
that he made for Wormtail, I thought that was so interesting. Where
Yeah.
he's like, I just made it so it has like no allegiance to anyone
Yeah.
in a way. So definitely use that one because it will work best for you.
right.
So that was interesting. Like
Because
it's like
it's
a new,
fresh.
like a newborn. Like
Yeah.
like-
Ready to be adopted. You know.
yeah, it's ready for
It's like
its
a little,
master.
it's a dog in the adoption.
Um, Yeah, that is very interesting.
Because Wormtail didn't have a wand because he left it behind. Like that, I thought was also
Yeah. Who
interesting.
took Wormtail's wand? I don't remember how that all went.
I just don't think he had it after he transfigured. He probably never. He
Just never got one.
And he never got one.
I thought like when he left, right? Like he left his wand in his finger or something.
Yeah, he probably. Yeah, probably to make it convincing. He probably had to. Yeah, that's a great point.
That's how I.
Yeah, could be.
So I just thought that was interesting. Like, oh, he finally got a wand after how long being with Voldemort? Like,
Yeah, wandless with Voldemort. Yeah.
he wouldn't let him have a wand.
That is, kind of sad.
So this is the other line that we have, where Ollivander is talking to him about the change of ownership. It says, "Yes, if you want it, it's more likely to do your bidding and do it well than another wand. And this holds true for all wands, does it?" asked Harry. "I think so," replied Ollivander, his protuberant eyes upon Harry's face. "You ask deep questions, Mr. Potter. Wand lore is a complex and mysterious branch of magic. So it isn't necessary to kill the previous owner to take true possession of the wand?" asked Harry. Ollivander swallowed. "Necessary? No, I should not say it's necessary to kill. Do you think that's true?" So we're talking about the Elder Wand here.
He said it like funny though,
Yeah.
or at least in the audiobook, I feel like it was the tone was interesting. Maybe I read into it more because of hearing it. But I feel like he was trying to hold back, saying like, I felt as though like if you killed someone, like maybe it is a more powerful connection, but he's not going to tell them that because why would you tell someone you should kill someone to get their wand?
Yeah, that seems extreme.
Or maybe he just never experienced that. But honestly, he was watching Voldemort kill people to get their wand, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm
And
confusing.
it's interesting too because
He
we've
still
seen
was
wand
losing.
ownership in previous books, and there's other wands that we've seen that have passed down. Like Ron had a wand in the first 2 books that wasn't
Oh.
really one that chose him.
A hand-me-down.
Yeah, it was a
wand,
hand-me-down.
right?
But how it come if it's a hand-me-down, it doesn't really work for him? Does a wand know like when it's willingly given? It's like, nah, I don't really want this. The same thing. I think that a fascinating case study is Neville, because he had his father's wand. Why didn't his father's wand choose him? Like, why didn't his father's wand say like, okay, yeah,
Right.
like,
right.
let's get some revenge.
Well,
on,
his
like, a revenge
aren't they
mission.
alive still?
Yeah, they're alive still.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, right.
So they're not dead.
So they're not dead.
So
But
then-
Ollivander's saying,
And then
the
it
person doesn't
reminded
need to
me
die.
of the what are they called?
Goblins.
Goblins. Thank
Yeah.
you. I know it's not Gringotts, but I'm like,
Gringotts.
who's there? When they were talking about the maker of the item. I don't know why this is a connection. Maybe this makes no sense. I'm just thinking out loud. The goblins make all the crown, the tiara or the crown and the sword, and that they think that they're the owners of all these items, and that whoever is the first one to possess it, and then if they die, it should go back to like their owner. And it just was a parallel, I guess, in a way of like, when you're the first owner of the wand, do you have to die and it would go back like a reset kind of
Interesting.
thing, where then it's kind of like similar to the goblin stuff.
Because that's an interesting thing. Why did they bring that up in the Goblin chapter? I mean, that's important, but
I don't know, it just made me think that if the first owner dies, maybe it resets it and it allows you to have like to start fresh.
Interesting. So wands can be passed down, because that's what they're talking about. Even with the wand, like the person doesn't need to die, but if the person does die, then it's like, okay, blank slate. Anybody can pick me up and use me.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating theory. I like that.
Yeah, Danny, what do you think?
I think it's a pretty good
Kristen,
theory.
what do you think?
Me? I have no thoughts right now. There's too much information. I'll chime in when I have something.
He just always puts me on the spot, so that's why.
Oh, that's okay.
Giving it back,
I'm
and
just
then
telling you.
I was like, I'll include Kristen. In this.
I got nothing for you. Sorry.
There is another part where I want to talk about why Harry's wand acted the way it did. It says you told him, this is like a scary part for Ollivander. He says you told him about the twin cores. You said he just had to borrow another wizard's wand. Ollivander looked horrified, transfixed by the amount that Harry knew. He nodded slowly, but it didn't work. Harry went on. Mine still beat the borrowed wand. Do you know why that is? Ollivander shook his head as slowly as he had just nodded. I had never heard of such a thing. Your wand performed something unique that night. The connection of the twin cores is incredibly rare. Yet why your wand should have snapped the borrower's wand, I do not know. Why did Harry's wand act like that? So Ollivander doesn't know, so we're not going to know. Any theories on why Harry's wand acted like that?
But if I'm going with my theory, it's not Voldemort's wand.
Yeah. Yep.
So maybe there's something in that.
So that's a fascinating one too, because Voldemort just takes Malfoy's wand and has no allegiance to him, really.
But he's a powerful wizard, so he can overthrow
for sure.
something. I don't know.
He's a powerful wizard, so any wand that he would use would work probably better for him than, like if I just picked up any wand and used it, obviously. But that one seems weird. He was trying to beat the ideas of the twin cores, so he didn't use his own wand. He tried to use another person's wand, but that wand really had no allegiance to him, because he just. I mean, maybe the question is, did it have allegiance to him?
I feel like a
Do
little.
wands know good and evil apart from a person?
That is a great question.
Are they moral? Are they amoral? Or are they moral?
Maybe a little bit
Is that
moral.
what he would say?
Well, but Ollivander doesn't necessarily think so, but maybe, because Ollivander said the wand seeks experience, right? Like something like mutual experience.
But wisdom comes from experience. So can wands gain wisdom?
Interesting.
Wand learning from the wizard,
That's
wizard from the wand. And then if there is a moral to the wand,
See,
would
sometimes there's
wands...
thoughts in here.
I'm wondering if the wand of a dark wizard is more likely to be disloyal than the wand of a good wizard. So because Malfoy is so... Like if the wand is learning from the wizard and the wizard from the wand, Malfoy is willing to betray, meaning Lucius, or any Malfoy really. They're willing to betray people, so the wand is also willing to betray. And also if a wand is going to like lean towards power, we're thinking Expelliarmus. But in Voldemort's case, his power was so extreme, he didn't even need that. He just said, Malfoy, give me your wand. And he yields it up. So in the same way that Malfoy is giving his wand over, maybe the wand is like, oh, this is a powerful wizard. He's like with confidence. Or again, not to compare wands to wives and horses in the same podcast, but if like a horse, you get on a horse that you're familiar with, there's a certain bond. But even a good rider could hop on any horse, and the horse can sense if you're scared or if you're confident. And even if the horse is at first kind of like, like when you're breaking a horse, you have to kind of get on this horse that does not want to yield, and you can train it to yield kind of quickly if you know what you're doing. So I'm curious if the wand would be the same thing. Voldemort is so good that he grabs a wand that doesn't want to yield to him, and he makes it yield very quickly, and it becomes his. Or he can he's good enough that it doesn't matter anyway.
Or could it also be, along what Kristen was saying a little bit, where I wonder if the Malfoys deep down are good, but they are portraying themselves and betraying, but they're not actually evil. They're like on Voldemort's side, but like deep down they want to be good, because it's kind of showing when we went to the house in this past chapter. Bellatrix is evil to the core, so her wand would probably just, how he's like, it's not going to yield to you.
Right.
But I wonder if that has something to do with it too, where like the Malfoys want, like, he could, what am I trying to say? It's like they can mask themselves as being like on the bad side, but like deep down the core is good. So like if he's trying to use it for evil, maybe deep down the core of the wand is like, no, this is like too much. Like I'm willing to go this far, but like you're pushing me, and no.
Has Harry had any interaction with Lucius Malfoy's wand? I was trying to think about that too.
Like in school?
Just in general, because I'm trying to think if in that battle Voldemort was using Lucius' wand. Did that wand, was it unwilling to defeat Harry because of some history? I just can't think of if there was anything.
Wait, how did they get all these wands anyway?
Well, who's they get all the wands?
So
Harry
how did
and Ron?
Harry, Ron, Hermione, when they were leaving the
That's a great question.
Malfoys,
There's a small little.
Hermione's wand got left with someone else's wand, but they grabbed a few. So was it all in Bellatrix's pocket? Like she had everyone's wand? I was like,
it was all in Draco's hand. There was a small little throwaway line, and that's weird because we didn't know that Hermione had left her wand there because of her being tortured. But when the chandelier fell, and before they were about to apparate, there was like a lot of confusion, and Harry just ran over to Draco and grabbed like 3 wands out of his hand.
Oh.
And those were all the wands that they have right now.
Because I'm like, I don't
grabbed
remember
them out of
this.
his hand. Okay, that's interesting too, because
and then that makes sense to
it's
why
not Expelliarmus.
Yeah.
he stole, like he took it.
He took it by force. He took
So
the
then
wand.
that would make sense why the wand would be easier to use for Harry, because he literally just grabbed it out of his hand. But then, nah.
Well, you know what else is funny? It's something about that feels proper, much like the physical way of burying someone feels so proper.
Yeah.
If you just walk up and grab a wand out of someone's hand,
like, I'm
you don't
gonna
even
use it.
need magic. You're just doing it the old-fashioned way. I feel like there's something to be said for that. Kind of the way that the Elder Wand had
But then
passed
that's,
from
like,
people who had just
stealing,
stolen
so,
it.
like-
Because that's happened with the Elder Wand, remember? A bunch of times where people would steal it in their sleep or something. It almost feels like that's more, I don't know about more powerful, but in some ways maybe. Because how much, that's a true defeat. If you take a wand out of someone's hand physically, there's not much more you can do as far as defeating a person. The wand couldn't defend itself at all. The wizard couldn't defend themselves. A conquered wand. Subtle laws govern wand ownership. Conquered wand will usually bend. Yeah, these are some deep questions Harry's asking. I just can't think of what golden thing Harry's wand was doing. That's just next level, and I don't know what fuels that.
Yep.
We've never seen it.
Because that's a really interesting piece of magic. But then even when they're talking about the Elder Wand, and this is kind of when we'll have this little discussion, Ollivander gives this line. He says, Grigorievich had the Elder Wand a long time ago. He said, I saw you-know-who trying to find him. When he tracked him down, he found that Grigorievich didn't have it anymore. It was stolen from him by Grindelwald. How Grindelwald found out that Grigorievich had it, I don't know. But if Grigorievich was stupid enough to spread the rumor, it can't have been that difficult. Voldemort was at the gate of Hogwarts. Harry could see him standing there. And see, too, the lamp bobbing in the pre-dawn, coming closer and closer. and Grindelwald used the Elder Wand to become powerful. At the height of his power, when Dumbledore knew he was the only one who could stop him, he dueled Grindelwald and beat him, and took the Elder Wand. Dumbledore had the Elder Wand, said Ron. But then where is it now? And is that true? Danny doesn't think that's true. Jen thinks that's true. Jen is taking the text at face value. Danny's like, he's lying. Why? What would his motive be for lying here? Or does he just not know?
I think it could be a mixture of not knowing, and I also feel like we don't know that much about him. He could have a wife and kids that Voldemort still has somewhere else. Voldemort could have made other threats to him, and there could be spells that are deeper on this. Like we had, for example, we know that Hermione had everyone in Dumbledore's army sign a contract. If you do certain things, something automatically happens. What if Voldemort forced Ollivander to sign some contract? It's a magical bond.
Well, you like pull these things from like books ago, and you're like, yeah, that's what this is.
No, I'm just saying it's all possible, and that would be something that
possible.
even if Voldemort wasn't
Time
around,
Turner.
yeah, I'm glad you closed that door. But even
Not
if
really, though.
Voldemort,
You're quoting a
not
Cinderella
fully
story.
true.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm trying to think of that quote because I love that movie.
I live in my own world, you guys.
It's great. We love it.
Because it just feels like then what if there was a contract that was outside of Ollivander's control or Voldemort's at this point? It's signed in, and if you violate certain things, if you tell certain things, if you like break a certain oath, unbreakable bond. Voldemort could have forced an unbreakable bond, but it brings up the question: can you force an unbreakable bond? Nah, I don't think you could force that. It seems too pure.
It's like his own conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Danny and my thoughts.
Yep. There you go. Ramblin' Dan.
That's gonna be Danny. Yeah, that's gonna be Danny's side podcast. Danny and my thoughts. He's gonna reread Harry Potter. The podcast gonna be Danny and my thoughts.
All these crazy things. But see, it's once we know the answer, everything. There's no more fun for speculation. But while we don't know, all we do know is Harry still doesn't fully trust Ollivander. He didn't, which I think, Jen, you were the one who pointed that out, right?
Wait,
in
what?
the first book, that Harry doesn't fully trust him.
Trust who?
Ollivander. Like
Yes,
he
I
left the
think
store
that's
with a
right.
weird like.
Well, because he
something.
brought it up again
Exactly.
here. But then I
What
thought
did
he
he bring
changed his mind. He said I wasn't like something.
Harry
along-
was suddenly reminded of how he had been unsure when
What
they
page
first
are you on?
met of how much he liked Ollivander. 497. And so again,
Maybe
it
you
just
didn't finish because I thought he changed his mind.
even now, having been tortured and imprisoned by Voldemort, the idea of the Dark Wizard in possession of this wand seemed to enthrall him as much as it repulsed him. And that's a weird line. So this paragraph right there,
Oh, like
Harry,
Ollivander like wants him to have it to see.
I mean, it seems like he's a little torn. He likes seeing all of this. Like, he's been reading wizard history in the past tense his whole life, and he knows he's experiencing it now, and there's a part of him that's fascinated by it. That's how it seems to me. So Harry didn't trust his instincts. Harry has good instincts about people most of the time, except Crouch Jr.
Wait,
as
so
a movie.
you think that Ollivander's lying
So
to
Crouch
Harry?
Judy, except, a bunch of people.
Snape,
Where was this
maybe
chapter?
Dumbledore.
Well,
What's his face?
it's Wandmaker,
Night bus
and
driver.
it's
Oh
like
yeah, Stan
Stan
Schoenpike.
Schoenpike, yeah.
towards the end.
Toward the end.
For us, it's like 4 pages to the end, but I don't even know.
Yeah, so I think that's
Talking about,
just
like,
strange to me
the
that
Dark
Harry
Lord
was uneasy
Seeks the Elder Wand and then
about
goes
Ollivander.
into
Still is.
Mm.
So should we trust Ollivander fully, or are we supposed to read that and say, "There's more here. There's something else. Something could be a little off. He might know more than he's able to say." I don't know.
Ollivander is one of the strangest characters in the books because there's a moment Harry rethinks about the first time he met Ollivander, and he was like unsure about what to feel about Ollivander, and then now he's the same. Ollivander seems like when he talks about how formidable it would be that Voldemort has the Elder Wand, he says that almost with like relish. He's like, he's not really on his side, but he just wants to see
what would
wand lore.
happen.
Yeah, like crazy things happen with cool wands. You
Like
know?
the extremes,
Yeah.
yeah.
He'd
Yep.
rather risk like all
Yeah.
humanity just
Yep.
to see what his whole life was about.
Yeah,
is
for
this
real.
wand.
Because it's like
Yeah.
it's like an obsession for him. Maybe it's like an unhealthy obsession because he's really like putting other people in harm's way for the fact that he can learn more about wands.
And it feels like he's been genuinely looking for this wand for his whole life.
Mm-hmm.
He's been tracing it through the course of history. There are gaps, of course, and long ones where it
but
vanishes, but
I
it always
thought that
resurfaces.
was any like Wandmaker. Like they study this to like know what's going
Maybe.
on. So it's not just Ollivander, is how I took that.
But maybe he's got, a dozen brothers, and he's the only one who really was passionate about wands. It may be in his blood, but he did this because he loves this. And so for him, the Dark Lord in possession of the Death Stick
But I don't
is, I must
understand
admit,
why he
formidable.
wouldn't have. Okay, but then also, why didn't he understand or be more, like, intrigued by the double core, like Harry and Voldemort's wand? Like, why didn't he ask him more, like, oh wait, what happened? And like, let's break that down of how your wand took a mind of its own and beat Voldemort's borrowed wand. Like, he didn't seem to care about that.
I felt like he already had processed all of that because Voldemort had already talked with him about it and said, why'd this happen? He's been captive, So I assume Dumbledore came to him about the twin wand thing originally. He probably did his digging, Priori Incantatem, talked to Dumbledore.
I'm surprised he didn't kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. But
Because
I
he
feel
killed
like
the
there's
other
more to
guy
it.
so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
And the other one's a wand maker. You'd think he'd keep both wand makers alive.
So he could check their stories. But Voldemort seems like the opposite of Dumbledore too, in that Dumbledore has control of his emotions. Voldemort does not. He gets angry. He just like does crazy things. He doesn't think
he's
always.
Actually crazy.
Yeah, and so I think
How do
it
you
could have been that
control
same
your
thing too.
mind when
It's
you're
not some big
insane?
planned out thing. He just got mad and killed somebody, which is very normal for him. And somehow he didn't with Ollivander because he thinks there's more purpose here. Something else he can give him maybe.
He was
Is
making
this
new
all
wands.
Dumbledore's fault?
What do you mean all?
He brought Voldemort to school to learn how to be a wizard.
Yeah, like he got him from the orphanage. And
Yeah.
why did he do that? Or was that to save muggles because he could see a certain path? Again, with prophecies, you don't know. So maybe he got a prophecy. If
He
Voldemort
would
stays
never have
there,
a
he'll
wand.
never have a wand.
He would have never had a wand if he was a muggle
Could be true.
world.
Could be true.
Anyways, that's
And
just something
Dumbledore
that
just go
came
back
to
to the time turner and just
Ah,
Wring his
nice.
neck.
Yeah, just take care of business.
at the orphanage. This is the last line in the chapter, then we'll go on to the next one unless you want to talk about anything else in this. But it says, and here it was beside the lake, reflected in the dark waters, the white marble tomb, an unnecessary blot on the familiar landscape. He felt again that rush of controlled euphoria, that heady sense of purpose and destruction. He raised the old yew wand. How fitting that this would be its last great act. The tomb split open from head to foot. The shrouded figure was as long and thin as it had been in his life. He raised the wand again. The wrappings fell open. The face was translucent, pale, sunken, yet almost perfectly preserved.
Ew.
They had left his spectacles on the crooked nose. He felt amused derision. Dumbledore's hands were folded upon his chest, and there it lay, clutched beneath them, buried with him. Had the old fool imagined that the marble or death would protect the wand? Had he thought that the Dark Lord would be scared to violate his tomb? The spider-like hand swooped and pulled the wand from Dumbledore's grasp, and as he took it, a shower of sparks flew from its tip, sparkling over the corpse of its last owner, ready to serve a new master at last.
It is funny that we kept saying, where's
Ready to
Dumbledore's
serve
wand?
its new
Yeah,
master.
you guys did have that question all
I
the time.
kept asking.
Here you go. There's the answer for it.
Very interesting.
It's funny with the sparks. I thought it was like saying no to Voldemort, like sparking, like dying. Like, oh, you're touching me? Yeah, right. I'm gonna shrivel up and not work.
Sabotage.
Interesting. So he's not the true owner of it. So go down both of those paths real quick. Is Dumbledore,
Oh my.
is his wand the Elder Wand? If it isn't, where is the Elder Wand? If it is Voldemort the true owner of the Elder Wand now? And if he's not, then who is, or did it die with Dumbledore?
I wanted to be the Elder Wand to follow that story, but then why Dumbledore wouldn't do that? That's so like easy to get or obvious. I feel like I don't know.
If it isn't the Elder Wand, I don't know where the Elder Wand went. But if it is the Elder Wand,
but I'm thinking the Elder Wand could be like how they found the sword. Whoever was behind dropping the Gryffindor sword maybe has the wand too.
could be. You know what's weird though? If that's the Elder Wand, the rightful owner, I was gonna say was gonna be Snape, but Snape didn't disarm him. Malfoy did. Expelliarmus, basic spell, child's play. And that's hilarious actually, because it means that if Voldemort has the Elder Wand, if that is the Elder Wand that was Dumbledore's and he died with it, then Draco I think would technically be the Elder Wand's master.
That's funny.
And you know what else would be cool though, because that would mean
and maybe
that
that's why Draco's wand
it was not loyal to him because he already has a new wand.
Harry could have, yeah.
But that
so
would also
funny.
be fascinating because it means that potentially whatever Dumbledore was saying to Draco to like say come to the side of good, like there's still good in you, like you don't have to do this. It didn't work in that moment, but it still could work in the future, and we could see a redemption from Draco. Because I was just even saying the other day how it wasn't reasonable. This wasn't enough to make up for all the bad things he did because he got Dumbledore killed. But if he gets his hands on the Elder Wand in a little bit and does some good old stuff, then, But also, I feel like Draco would be corrupted so fast if he had the power of the Elder Wand.
Yeah.
I'm not very optimistic about him being able to wield that power for good. I think if he got power, even if he could somehow defeat Voldemort,
like he'd be
he would just
overwhelmed by
become
it.
Voldemort.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I think he would. But then again, we've seen some flicker of good in him when the teacher was being killed on the table at the beginning of the book. He didn't like any of this. He's been cringing at every bad
if
thing.
that's Harry, if that's Hermione, if that's
Yep.
Ron.
So that
was
would be
nice.
fascinating. But if Dumbledore didn't have the Elder Wand, he could have given it to anyone, I suppose. But would it be loyal to anyone he gave it to?
No, what if you just hid it somewhere?
Where?
I don't know.
What if it's you know what?
So many options.
I feel like Harry's vault is not a bad option. Because I feel like not just because
What
the next
if-
chapter is called
wait,
Gringotts.
also, though,
I feel like they
with
might
the
be headed
goblins-
there.
Wait, Harry's vault or
The goblin.
Bellatrix's vault?
Honestly, in theory, not Bellatrix. It would have to be Harry's. But where your treasure is, there your heart will be. What if it's the most basic form of that? Where your treasure is. Harry, you're loaded. All of your treasure is in your vault at Gringotts. Go to your
Nice.
vault at Gringotts.
Wait, does Dumbledore have a?
Well, Hogwarts does because that's where they went to get the stone at the beginning of book 1. Remember
then
with Hagrid?
What if it's in there?
It could be. And that would, again, make a ton of sense. The wand sitting in the vault
The
there.
other thing I thought, which doesn't really make sense, but I'm just like thinking out loud right now, is like the goblins were calling them the wand carriers or something.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I was just reading back
So
through
then
some of
I
that.
was
Yeah.
like, is it possible that Dumbledore is trying to get creatures like all together? Could he have given it to a goblin? Could he have given it to a, what's the part horse, part man?
A centaur?
Yeah, like
Centurion.
what if he?
Centurion.
No, I'm not saying it. What if he was willing to like change the history of it and give it to a creature that's not supposed to have it?
That would be kind of crazy. Well,
But you wouldn't find it.
you wouldn't find... Well, but it would be... I'm afraid that the wizards have even more like stuff in place to make sure goblins don't use wands.
I'm just
protective
saying, but
mechanisms,
that's what I
I
found
don't
so
know.
interesting. Like, all right, why don't we all give the goblins wands now, and then we fight
Yeah.
against not Dumbledore,
Voldemort together.
Voldemort together.
Yeah.
Like, why? I don't
I
understand.
don't know. I don't know if Bill mentions this in the next chapter. Their loyalty is weird. They're not really. They're like loyal to themselves. But
But what if they were given wands? That's what I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like, what if you're given an opportunity to like shine,
Yeah,
and
for
like
sure.
you don't even.
it is cool because what's his face is blown away by Harry in this chapter.
If
Yeah.
there was a wizard
What
of
about
whom I would
elves?
believe
What
that
if
they
he
did
gave
not
it to
seek
an elf?
personal gain, it
Yeah.
would be you, Harry
What
Potter.
if he gave it to Dobby?
We've just never seen an elf with a wand yet.
All I'm saying is that would be interesting.
Yeah.
That'd
because
be- yeah.
We talk about elves, we talk about goblins and whatever, and they all keep saying that wizards are wand carriers and they're not allowed to have any. But
Well,
what
if you gave
you
it to Dobby, that's
disrupt-
not a good sign.
I'm just saying.
Dobby.
I'm just saying. What if you
Bellatrix
just
would be the
what
rightful
if you
owner.
disrupted the normal like society orders and you just
Yeah, and that's a great
started-
goal.
What?
Disrupting it. That's a great goal. And should that be Harry's goal now? Like by the end of
Oh, I
this,
would
return
want
the
to.
tiara, return the sword, like try and set
What
things
if?
in rightful
I
order.
mean, this would never happen because he's obsessed with the sword. But what if the goblin? I can't think of his name.
grip hook.
What if they're like, how about we give you this extra wand and we'll teach you how to use it instead of giving you the sword?
That is interesting.
I know it wouldn't work because he's obsessed with it, but I'm just saying, what if he's like, okay, we'll trade you, like, we'll teach you how to use the wand, and then let's see how powerful you are. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just giving off.
No, I love that option. And we have been introduced to tons of magical creatures. So the wizards don't seem to get along well with any of them. They're all outcasts, whether it's centaurs, elves, goblins, giants, werewolves, vampires. Although vampires seem a little more accepted. It feels like it would be about time we kind of unify all of the creatures. So that would be great. I just don't know how to do it.
running from him, so I just find that so interesting.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's how the final battle of the book goes down. The mermaids can jump in and help. The giants can come along. Well, it's weird that some of these creatures are on Voldemort's side, even though they know Voldemort doesn't like them or respect them. Just
They just don't wanna
because,
die.
yeah, exactly. They're scared and they have their own purposes, or the werewolves are like, yeah, we
I
can eat
just
people
feel like
more.
you're gonna die regardless if you're on his side or not. So like, don't be on his
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
Everyone banned
Yeah.
against them. Yeah. We're good. All right. We will talk about some of this in the next chapter, but next chapter is Shell Cottage. Quick summary of this one.
Tonks and Lupin had the baby and named Harry Godfather, and Griphook wants the sword in exchange for his help into Gringotts.
Yeah. Perfect.
That's all I have.
They're like just hatching a plot to get into Gringotts. And this is where we'll have some of the grip hook
What's
conversation.
his called? His name is Ted, the
Ted.
boy.
Ted.
Yeah.
Right, Ted.
Teddy.
Cute.
Yeah, that is cute.
Changing hair.
I know. It's so cute. So Harry again wonders about the eye here. If Dumbledore could possibly be alive, they have a quick conversation about that. But then, what do you think about this idea of sword or like goblin ownership? So, is the sword? I mean, maybe this is a weird side question, but they're having this discussion. Who does the sword belong to?
Oh,
What's
boy.
what's the proper lore of the sword?
Right.
It was interesting though. I felt like when Bill was talking about how goblins see things, it kind of makes sense
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah,
I
it
was
did
like
make
kind of
sense.
following that. Like, okay, we sold it to that owner, and when they're done with it, it goes back to the maker, and maybe you sell it again, but you don't keep passing it down. I just thought that was kind of interesting.
It
and
did.
I
It
could
did make
see
sense.
what the goblins were thinking of being stolen. The only thing is, was it stolen from the get-go, or was it bought?
Originally by
From Griffin.
Yeah, Godric Gryffindor.
Yeah.
Oh wait, did we do a chapter summary?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Kristen
cool. I was in my zone. Sorry.
Yeah,
Thanks for listening,
have
Danny.
anything else to previous?
There was a lot to in my margins.
Yeah, we're not asking you for more information.
I know. I just was scanning. So you're sassy today.
Yeah. You called me a wand, so yes.
Yeah. No. Actually, I called
Her
wands
sparks are flying
wives.
now.
Yeah. Nice, Kristen. I like
That's
the goblin.
The same
What?
thing. Just keep going.
Oh, okay. I like the goblin way of doing things, and I think wizards should be more in tune with that. Dirk Cresswell, people like Bill, people who work at Gringotts. Well, I think it's even nice that goblins are willing to hire wizards, or maybe part of them likes that. It's like, yeah, you're working for us. I think they should just make this the new normal, and maybe it is the normal now, but the problem is you have all of these old objects. I'm thinking of even when we were in Greece, it kind of reminds me of some of that, because this is the dynamic hanging out now between Greece and England, where England obtained all of these things from the Parthenon in Athens, and they rightfully bought them. Legitimately, they can trace it all the way back to when it was, hundreds of years ago, maybe even thousands. And they're in the British Museum. And Greece is saying, yeah, but we made them. It belongs here. Give them back to us. And for a long time, England said, you don't even have a nice place to keep it, so we're not giving it back. But they just built this big, beautiful place to keep it, a brand new museum. And they have the space where they're going to put these objects when they get them back. They're just waiting for England to give them back, if they ever do. And I think that's the same idea of, if you rightfully buy something according to one culture's thing, is there a place where something belongs? The place it was made? Is there a rightful owner, even if something does get passed down generation to generation? I think it's fascinating when that comes up in the Muggle world, and it does sometimes, especially sentimental things. If some great grandfather makes something, builds it, it gets bought, and then a great grandchild wants to buy it back. They have like a certain, my grandpa made that, I want that, that belongs in my family. Why do you have it? But how do you reconcile?
I like the show I'm watching.
Oh yeah.
The lake or
I heard something about a house and So I feel like that does happen in the Muggle world. But how do you make it right? How do you how do you do that now? It just takes a wizard like Harry who's willing to set an elf free. Like, it takes someone like that to then say, I know that I lose in this situation, but I'm willing to sacrifice that for the greater good. And
but
I don't know, it's a step in the right direction.
I also don't understand why they couldn't tell. What the heck? I can't do names. The goblin.
Griphook, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
I was
G's.
gonna say, there's a lot
Griphook,
of G.
Grindelwald.
And I'm not reading it, so it's just like
Yeah,
hearing it is not helping. Why couldn't they say, we will give you back the sword, but we just need it to finish a task that Dumbledore gave us? Why couldn't they say that as part of their trade-off thing?
Yeah,
That's a great
yeah.
point.
Because then you're not lying, because I feel like you don't lie to a goblin.
Yeah,
They
I was
seem to
gonna
have
say,
very
don't do that.
hot-tempered.
So that's a great question. How do you think the plan is going to go?
I think he's going to get mad. Because he's like, you promised me, and then they're like being sneaky about it.
And it also felt funny that I'm like, the sword isn't theirs to give. It's funny that they actually feel like it's their right to give it, but like, it's not theirs.
But then that might be a good thing. Maybe it'll disappear from Griphook's possession because it just appears wherever.
Yeah, it does seem to be a little
or it was
crazy.
hidden in the lake forever until Harry found it.
And if it just presents itself to Gryffindors who need it, if you give it back to the goblins, does it just pop back to Harry later when he needs it for something else? So I think that's a weird thing too. And goblin magic, can it be suppressed if it goes back to a goblin? I don't know, but it feels like there is a little bit of a disconnect.
I'm like, what is that going to look like, them going in? I feel like, I don't know.
But they should have been honest. And that does feel like a lot to sacrifice.
Yeah.
A sword that's been around for, what do we say, 1,000
Well, I
years,
don't even care
1,200
about
years?
that because at this point it's like, what's the point of possessing a sword when
I
everyone's
guess so.
dying?
But they needed to defeat Horcruxes, so at least
That's
like you're
what I'm
saying, they
saying.
should have
Like,
been
at
honest.
least say like Dumbledore has a task for us and we need this sword to complete the task. But we will give it back when we're done. It'll be yours. Or can we borrow it? It is yours, but we're gonna borrow it until we finish this task. Or
Do you
something.
think that there could be anything else in the vault other than a Horcrux? Are you guys convinced that it's a Horcrux in this vault?
80%.
I don't know.
You're very convinced?
No. I'm not sure what else is in there. I feel like it's a part of me is like, is it a trap? But the way that
that would be
Bellatrix was so
Oscar worthy.
The way that she was so distraught about it makes me think.
Yeah. I definitely believed Bellatrix that she was worried about whatever it was. So it would be very intense acting if that was all a setup. But
it makes sense that there would be a Horcrux. Could it be all the Horcruxes? That would be even
like they're
more
collecting
intense.
them and pulling them in. Well, you know what?
Bellatrix's job was to collect them.
It would make sense if it was Ravenna Ravenclaw's thing. I feel like the Ravenclaw object, we've gotten a lot of hints at it in the last few chapters. That would be a top contender for what's in there at the moment. Because it's one of the ones that we've heard the hints of, but we've only heard it just mentioned now for
I
the
still
first
don't even
time.
remember what they all were. Like, did we ever count out 7 or 6?
Well, yeah, 6 or whatever. We've done it a bunch of times, like randomly, but then we just don't know enough to know. So every time we're like, is that right? Is it not? And we're
So-
always speculating about things like the invisibility cloak or whatever.
Yeah,
weird
right
stuff.
now, let's do a quick inventory over it. So the diary, we're convinced that the diary is a Horcrux. Danny, are we convinced that it's a Horcrux?
I got my list. Let me pull it up.
So the
goodness.
diary is for sure. We'll say the diary is 1.
The ring,
The ring is 1.
the locket.
The locket's 1.
That's 3
We have 3 so far.
out of 6.
Diary, ring,
6 or 7.
locket. And then our other options were Cups of Hufflepuff, Sword of Gryffindor, Invisibility Cloak, Ravenclaw item, ? Weasley tiara,
What would the
Harry's
Ravenclaw-
scar, Sorting hat, Nagini. The Ravenclaw object now would be her headdress thing. I forget what they called it. I underlined it, but it's the thing that we didn't even know what Xenophilius was making. We thought it was like some zany invention, but now it seems like Luna is saying he's trying to model this after Ravenna Ravenclaw's, like, what'd she call it? Which is even more intense. Yeah, something like that. I don't know. I didn't think she called it a headdress. It was something else.
Find it.
I don't know. That'd be awesome if Bellatrix.
It was a
had
casual thing.
all
She
the
just said it when she
Horcruxes
came
in
walking
one
in.
area, and then they all just are like boom, 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 and then we're done.
So the book ends next chapter.
I'm fine with that. I like that ending.
The Diadem of Ravenclaw. The Lost Diadem. So that actually tells us even more than we thought. It's lost.
Yeah, headdress. What the
Well,
heck
maybe
is a
it's not as lost
diadem?
as we think.
What is it?
I don't know.
What's a diadem?
Yes.
It's like a tiara.
Oh,
It's like a
What if it is the tiara?
that's why you don't want to say it.
That's funny.
Is the Annie Muriel's tiara?
That would be
Danny's
weird.
always right
No,
with
no.
these weird theories.
No, because
Probably.
It's so funny.
that feels a little too weird.
There is
But
a line in the movies where someone goes, "What the bloody hell is a diadem?"
that's
Oh.
funny.
Is that why you laugh?
That is
Yeah, I was
great.
That's why I'm laughing.
We just don't know. Don't laugh at our ignorance.
You just looked at us.
that's
His
so funny.
face.
Interesting. Okay, but it could be the tiara, and I keep thinking back to that silly thing Harry marked his. He knew which closet or a little wardrobe he was hiding something in the room of requirement.
Yeah.
But I forget if that was a bust or a tiara or both. But it was something that felt like special.
I think it was a tiara because you said it like 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Tiara. Okay, so we've got a
Yeah.
couple tiaras. It could be that one. In fact, maybe it was that one, and then they found it in the room of requirement because they went in there, and then they realized what it was and hid it in Bellatrix's vault. Or maybe the Bellatrix or the Lestrange family has had it for generations. Or the Malfoys. Not the Malfoys. Where's the Bellatrix?
Peak.
What is her?
The P, something with a P?
Something with a P.
Or it came down. Like,
I just can't remember their last name. Bellatrix and...
Lestrange?
No, that's what it is now. But before she got married, do we know what her last name was?
I thought you were trying to trace
Oh,
the
it would be
family
black.
that died.
It'd be black, yeah.
They were blacks, yeah.
So the point is, in all of these things, wait, that's interesting too. If it's her family vault, no, it's a Lestrange vault. It's just weird because it could be a lot of
Wait,
different
what
things.
about the one that died and that has the Deathly Hallows sign on the gravestone? What family is that? Is that with a P?
That is with a P, yeah.
That's
Peveril.
what-
Oh, I was gonna
Peverils.
say that. Wow. One
So the
random piece
Peveril
of information
family-
stuck.
But they
Yeah.
were good or evil?
Well, I don't know if they're good or evil. It seems like a bit of a mixed bag based on the fairy tale.
But that is not the same. Oh wait, okay, those are the.
That's the Deathly Hallow family.
Yeah, but then it said to Voldemort's grandfather. Was that the line it was going down?
They were, yeah. I think so, yeah.
So that is the Peveril.
The Peverils.
Peveril.
But it's also the family Gaunt. So I think that's the trouble with generations as we look on Ancestry.com. It's once you go a certain number of generations down, you have hundreds and hundreds of grandkids. So it's
the
like
overlap of like real life. And then
yeah. Well, that's how my mind works. So it's like once you go 10 generations back, everybody, like the amount of crossing there is between different families. And so if there are 27 or 29, whatever it was, wizarding families, they're all intertwined 1,000 which ways, because when you can trace a line that far back, it becomes chaos. So everyone's a descendant of somebody, like, especially these pure blood mania people. If you're only able to marry between 27 families, you're sharing great grandparents with everybody basically, or at least great grandparents. There'd be so much crossover. And that's why I'm just like not sure if any of this stuff with the blood really like matters. You're family with everybody in a weird way, but Harry probably is too, because I think the Potters were one of those families. So
Yeah, but then his mom's a muggle boy.
yeah, which is great.
Break that up.
So I don't know. I just go back and forth about it all. Harry could not remember ever before choosing not to act. Love that. Harry's growing.
Oh, I loved how he's closing his mind to Voldemort. Is that what you were referencing?
Yeah, finally.
Like
Yep.
he could finally turn it off.
It's like when he has moments of just resolve and he knows what he needs to do, he can turn it off. But
I feel
it's
like
funny
he learned
too.
that when he was in trouble. What was
Trelawney?
No, when he was in trouble, I was trying to say like he had to like turn it off so he could focus
Yeah.
on saving someone, but
Yep.
I can't remember.
I think it was this. Wasn't it Malfoy Manor? Where he's
Yeah.
like having visions into
Hermione,
his
Yep.
mind,
right?
but he had to shut it off because he had to stay focused in the moment. So in huge moments of stress,
Like
even in this moment,
practicing.
he's like, this is a little less moment of stress for him, but it's like a moment of resolve. But it's funny because he goes out and talks to Hermione and Ron, and he's like, I know that I need to like look into his mind to confirm the theories are right.
Yeah,
so he's like
right.
choosing when he wants to go into the mind and not now,
Good
rather
control.
than just like completely shutting it out. So he does have control.
Is there any connect to him finally trusting Dumbledore? Because I feel like I can't remember exactly what it was, but that like him choosing, kind of like what you were saying, he's like resolved on what he has to do. Him choosing between the Hallows and the Horcruxes. To me, him choosing the Horcruxes was finally trusting Dumbledore, because he was like, this is what he told me to do.
Yeah.
I felt like there was a leap in the direction of like, I'm going to trust him now. So this is what I'm going to do.
That's a great point.
I don't know, like,
Yeah, you're
if
right.
there
Yeah, 'cause
was
he was
a
torn.
connect, like a piece in that trust. So then in that, he was able to turn it on and off in his mind.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
cool.
interesting. Yeah, the
Yeah.
I don't
piece in it.
know.
I like the piece. Yeah.
I could be wrong.
No, I love
connected
that
those
idea.
two things as I was reading it. I thought
that's
it was
also
cool.
what Dumbledore wanted him to do, right? Is to turn
Yes.
it off.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
like in a way it connects, like you're saying too, where he was like trusting him and then okay, I'm going to obey you too.
Right.
Right. It's not a rebellion anymore against what Dumbledore said. It's saying, I'm going to trust you. And there's a piece in there, and even like a certain love too. So I think all of that together is good. It's the maturity of Harry, seeing his growth.
And I
He's
wonder if
starting to
all of this
lead.
has to do with Dumbledore not spelling it out for him. Did Harry have to figure this all out on his own?
Yeah.
Because would it
It
have been a
feels
totally
like it.
well? Would it have been a totally
This whole
different
book, yeah.
path if he
Right,
was just
right.
like if it was spelled out for him?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm paralleling this on a
No, you're
total
right.
spiritual level in my own life. So I'm like, this
Yeah.
is like that's you place a trust in something, and then you have to take the steps and you have to figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
You're
Which-
not
yeah.
being it's not being spelled out
handheld,
for
yeah.
you. If it were the other case, you'd just be a puppet in life.
And I feel like that even goes back to Harry digging the grave by hand, because there's value in doing it the hard way
Yeah.
instead of taking
Who
the
wants
easy
to do it
route.
the hard way? I don't want
You don't.
Yeah, nobody wants to.
to do.
Nobody wants
It's
to,
like,
but it
give
is
me the
good.
information so I can do
Give
it.
me a list of what to do,
I know.
so we can
Exactly.
close
Right.
the book,
Yeah, I will spark notes it.
literally and figuratively.
I've always spark notes.
Well, me too.
That's
when
how
was
I
in school.
survived
If somebody
school.
tells me to read a book,
Yeah.
that's what I did.
I think I read like
Ironically.
2 books. Fully.
Nice.
Plus
now
Twilight
it's
series.
You've read
And
through
now
Yes.
this,
6 books
if
fully,
you count
almost
it.
7.
It's no joke.
That's it.
It's better than nothing. That's big.
What else do you have in this chapter before I ask a few more? Not a ton, but a few.
I'll scan through.
Not a ton, but a few.
Yeah, not that much. Just like happy questions. What do you think about Lupin and Tonks having a baby?
Oh, cute.
Very cute.
Yeah.
I love that he was so excited.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's
I
like
know.
Finally came around.
I know.
it still felt weird that Harry said something about that 12 Grimald moment felt like ages ago.
Yeah.
Which is good.
I don't remember that.
Well, he was basically saying they fought in 12 Grimald, remember, in the basement?
Yeah.
And that feels still weird. I would like a little more resolution, like talk it out, and just like there was still that part of me that thought, was that actually Lupin? Was there something else going on there? Or was it just weird emotion? Either way, I'm glad it's in the past.
What if Harry goes up to him and says, "What? I'm so sorry about the thing we had at Grimwald Place," and Lupin's
He's
like, "What?"
What thing? I haven't been there in years.
Yeah.
I thought he was gonna quiz him about what he first saw as his patron or whatever. Remember the thing
Yeah,
he
yeah,
quizzed
yeah.
him on the
Thing.
first time
Yeah.
in the class?
The Grindylow. What was in the corner of my office the first time we?
Oh,
Yeah. So I thought I'm like, wait, why are you letting him
Give the quiz.
ask him one more question?
You're giving him
Yeah.
the tiara and everything? Yeah, ask him more questions. Questions that a Death Eater with Polyjuice couldn't have prepped for, you know? Bring out that remember all. Let's be a little more
'cause I
cautious.
thought
A couple
those were
words and they let him right
basic
in.
stuff.
And that I think was a
But-
little strange too, because they're taking precautions, but just like a little bit. But he did mention the secret keeper. But then again,
But I feel like he would know that.
what did he say?
I'll just
Who was the
list all
secret
the
keeper?
Weasley kids.
I know. So we trusted a little bit, but it did feel a little funny, like it was different than what it used to be. And it didn't occur to me now that it's scary. They just handed the tiara over, because I'm like, what else did they gain? They gained the tiara, and if that was a Horcrux, then bad. Anyways, we're gonna pretend that's the real Lupin, because I like that he's happy for his child and
Happy for
whatever.
once.
Yes.
And you know what? He stayed and hung out, and like we had said before,
And got drunk.
Yeah.
they would have noticed in long exposure with someone if something was up, because they know him well enough.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was interesting. They kept giving him drinks. I'm like, guys, he has to go back to his house and like be on alert on his
Apparate
way
under
back.
the influence.
I know.
Yeah. Oh boy.
I just thought that was dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's operating under the influence. Next chapter,
that
he dies
illegal?
from DUI, drives under the influence, operates under the influence. Oh man.
That sword was Ragnuk the First's, taken from him by Godric Gryffindor. That's interesting that Griphook says that. Again, he could be lying, could be scheming, could be whatever. But if that's true, that it was taken from him and not purchased from him, or maybe that's just Griphook saying it that way, and this would be thousands of years old, so, or, you know, whatever we said, about 1,000 years old. So Ragnuk the First made the sword, or had it made, and Godric took it from him. A lost treasure, a masterpiece of goblin work. It makes it feel like the sword is more special than we even realized. So then it feels like even more so should go back to the goblins if it was taken. And that'd be a nice way to kind of restore some peace, because these goblin rebellions seem to have been going on forever.
Yeah. So it is a really interesting question. Did that goblin make it for Gryffindor, or did he just take it? Like, it's a really interesting question for that, because in this chapter you kind of trust Griphook with a little bit, but like he doesn't seem like a trustworthy character.
I know. There's just that little bit of like, ugh, like we're talking about trusting instincts.
Yeah.
And there's just that feeling of, oh, I don't love this. Like something is off here. And I just don't know. All right. Hogwarts was established in 992 AD. Wow. Beating out Bobatons by 300 years. Yeah. Hogwarts is so
yeah.
much better.
When was Oxford founded?
Ooh, that's interesting. That must be really old.
1096.
Oh my
I think
word.
It's like the second oldest. I think University of Paris is the oldest. I think this is the second oldest or something.
That is so long ago.
So almost close to Hogwarts. Hogwarts is a little bit before.
All I'm just trying to see if there's anything else like.
So again, they are plotting here. Are they just dumb to put their trust in Griphook?
I don't know if they have a lot of other choices, but I do feel like this opened up bigger things that Harry can do now for the future of the wizarding world. And even it sounds weird even to say the wizarding world anymore, because that's creaturist anyway. Like there's got to be another word for just the world, you know, because now it's not just wizarding world, it's wizarding, goblin, elves, you know, all the things. So I feel like this is a good thing Harry can do to kind of take these steps, and for Griphook to trust him is good. And I feel like in order to build trust, somebody has to take that first scary step of trusting in order to let the other person trust. And Harry's doing that now, but it is a risk. He's opening up the possibility of being taken advantage of. So I'm a little worried for him. And I, like Jen said, I do not like that he's planning on being dishonest. He is intending to deceive in his wording, and I don't like that. So
before we wrap up the final questions, I just do you have anything else in this chapter before I ask one more question before the finals?
You're scaring me.
No, this is just what are your predictions for the next chapter? Because we're gonna listen to it.
I don't know. Every time they do something goes wrong. So I'm expecting that. And who's going to go? I feel like it's just going to be one person. It's going to be Harry and Griphook, because they only have Polyjuice Potion for one. And are you going to... Can they do goblin hair and become a goblin as Polyjuice?
Interesting. Probably. Hermione became a cat.
that is interesting.
Because that would have been very interesting.
Oh, can you imagine they all be... Well, how much Polyjuice do they have left?
One person.
One person? Okay.
So who are they going to transform into?
What if Griphook gave them and there's two Griphooks? Would that be weird? Or would they know? Or it come from afar? It just looked like two goblins working together?
And I feel like, well, we haven't seen goblins operate actually, just elves. But I feel like with that combination of things, they could do quite a few things. But Harry is too high profile to be going out anywhere. So I feel like he'd have to be the one to do it. And it feels like using it to get into Gringotts would be good.
Who are they going to transform into? Who are they going to use it for?
It has to be someone that isn't on the run. Oh my
gosh. What if they had Bellatrix's hair somehow with the wand? And then
interesting.
It's Griphook and Bellatrix walking into her own vault. That would have been so perfect. Why didn't they grab her hair?
Yeah, they weren't thinking about that. But do they have anything that...
Hermione might have skin, whatever.
Something under the fingernails from a scratch. It could be on her dagger.
Blood.
Ooh, but that's Dobby's blood.
Yeah.
No.
Is there another? That's a great idea. I do like that a lot.
That would have been so easy. In and out. Boom.
Well.
Yeah.
Maybe they have it, and Hermione will find it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how they could get it, because that's such a great idea. And it's too risky to go getting her hair at this point. You don't want to get that close to her. She's too good. So it's like you kind of
back to Malfoy
like avoid that at all costs.
All right, we're good.
This out quick.
A little punch for killing Dobby. Yeah. That's for hurting Dobby.
Yeah.
Fuck a hair.
She doesn't have her wand though, so that is something.
I know. Yeah. Very susceptible.
Oh my gosh, and you would have the wand too, and you'd look so
I know, it'd be convincing.
I like that Luna was talking about the Crumplehorn Snorkack, and she said that it likes... Oh, you have to hum. They prefer a waltz.
Yeah.
And I think, again, I'm waiting for what Dumbledore said at the beginning of book 1. Music is something more powerful than anything we do here, more important, more something. And so, again, this is a musical thing where I'm like, all right, there's more music. Again, we know Fluffy was impacted by music, and now another magical creature.
Voldemort.
So
you just have to
gotta hum him to sleep. Yep.
Wow.
So anyways, that was another note here. And I also thought it was cute, the Ollivander Luna thing. when he said, "You are an inexpressible comfort to me in that terrible
Yeah.
place." I was like,
that was a cute
warms
moment
the heart.
they shared. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I don't remember that. I want to make that my favorite moment.
Yeah.
Moment. Just hold on to that. You can make that your favorite moment, even though you didn't remember it.
Cozy moments,
I can read it
diadem.
right now.
Yeah.
Ginny
was
sends you all her love. I took that to mean not all of you her love, but Harry sends you all of her love. Baby Ted, yummy.
Yummy.
Yeah, yummy.
About the baby?
Well, sure. Yeah.
He loves babies.
It's just an interesting.
Oh, I was trying to count the people at the table when they were cheersing, but they stood up. They didn't sit down. I think we're all right. They didn't dine
oh my
together.
Gosh.
We had discussed a little bit.
Wait, were there 13 at the table though?
I don't think so. I just did
there's less.
quick math, and I was like, it wasn't even close.
Yeah.
I didn't even count them out because I'm like, it must be 8 people. Yeah, and I was like, all right, we're fine.
Yeah.
So being a godfather is that extra responsibility. Is there a wizarding, muggle, ancient magic kind of thing about being a godfather? It felt like Harry agreed to it without knowing what that even meant. And I was
At
like,
the end of
whoa,
the
hey,
chapter,
like,
he's like, am I gonna be more reckless?
like
than
in the end,
Sirius
you
is?
know, you're going to also have to be a godfather to like Ron and Hermione's kids if things go that way, which
Yeah.
of course we're all hoping.
Yeah.
Then, so I'm like, but don't you be giving out your godfatherhood to like any old person? No offense to Tonks and Lupin. I know they're tight, but I think he's only spent a total of like a few minutes with Tonks, and so I don't know. It just felt like a little casual, where I
Yeah.
was like, maybe try and take a second. All right. I think
You are something.
the bargain involves treasure, tiara, sword. Bill is smart. They should have given the tiara more secretly, since Bill knew how goblins get with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They should have been discreet. He should have been on the lookout for that kind of stuff, knowing the tiara is in the house and Griphook's weird. That should have been on his radar a little more, I thought. Yeah. And I thought it was interesting that it ended with Harry being as reckless a godfather to
Yeah.
Teddy
He's about to
Lupin
be.
as Sirius Black had been to him. Full
Miles
circle.
it,
I
I
missed
know.
that.
Yep. But he's younger, so we give Harry more grace.
Yeah.
Well, Sirius Black was in jail, Azkaban,
Ooh,
forever. so
oh my
that's
goodness, I
kinda the
know.
same.
That definitely is intense.
All right. Favorites. Favorite moment. Favorite character. Hot tamale. I'll give my favorite character to Harry. You can definitely give my favorite character to Harry in this
Nice.
chapter. These two, because he's just convicted.
showed-
He becomes he's like a man in this, especially in the Wandmaker chapter. He just knows what he needs to do.
Ooh, yeah.
He's in
Yeah.
control of the situation. He's such a man. I love it.
There's conviction there
Yeah.
and balance. He's willing to like suppress some of his like immature feelings and say, no, I'm going to do what's right. It's
Yeah.
great.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is so good.
I agree with you, so I'll just jump on that. Yeah.
Probably the same.
Yeah.
Ditto.
I was trying to look for something.
Ditto.
Dude, that hasn't come up in a while.
Luna could be hot tamale.
That's. Oh, I wanted to give her something. That's what I was
Oh,
just
I
trying to
know.
look
Yeah,
at.
yeah.
That's why I said hot tamale.
I love she is just an absolute delight. Like even something as simple as like Harry looks outside and she is there fixing the flowers on the grave of Dobby. I'm like, even something as simple
Oh,
as that.
yeah.
She just knows what's
Yep.
right, knows what's proper, and just does it. Like she is just lovely.
I think that's why I admire her, because she doesn't care what people
Yeah.
think at all.
Yep.
She just does what she feels is
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
Or
Yeah.
what, not feels it. Like she does do the right things. It's not just that
Yeah.
it feels right. I'm not sure how to word that, but
Yeah.
Even if she's
She
wrong.
knows what's she knows what's right in her convictions of
Yeah.
what life is.
She's
I don't know if that
convicted.
sentence just
that-
made any sense.
Yeah.
And then-
Sense in my
No,
head.
it did make sense for
wasn't
sure.
she talking about something like she was teaching Dean something
Yeah,
like on the
like
way
the
in?
crumpled horn snorkack.
Yeah, or
If she's
something.
convinced it's a crumpled
Like,
horn
it was
snorkack
just
and
so
not a Rumpelhorn
cute.
horn.
I don't know.
And she said it regrows, which
Yeah.
I thought was also interesting.
It reforms.
And it's a funny dynamic between Luna and Hermione, because Hermione's like, you don't know what you're talking about. And I actually don't know who to believe. I'm like, oh man, what was it? It did explode. But, I mean, what do we know?
Just to be more open-minded or something, isn't that what?
Yeah.
her
Yeah.
Love-
Xenophilia said, yeah.
Wow, Mr. Lovegood said to Hermione. oh, great. You're thinking like you're
Oh,
more
yeah.
open-minded.
Yeah.
Finally.
We'll have to check every rock in the world. That's more like it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like
something like that.
however he said it was so great.
Favorite moment.
I said mine.
Yeah. It was a good moment.
I just thought like the chapter where Harry was like questioning Ollivander and like he just showed so much wisdom and like power in that moment where he's like, how do you know all this stuff? And he wouldn't reveal anything.
Yeah.
But I thought it was so cool how he was like tracing the whole history of this conversation with Voldemort and getting what he needed. I don't know. It kind of reminded me of like a Dumbledore. Like everyone just like, wait, how do you have all this information?
Yeah.
Whoa, cool. Yeah, you're right.
It's so good.
Like Dumbledore, like that, like feeling of he's in the know,
He's in awe, yeah.
blowing people's minds.
Hermione almost like looks scared of him at this moment because she's like so in awe of him.
Well, yeah, because he didn't tell anyone anything. Because I thought that was interesting, like the maturity level where he was tapping in a little bit to see what Voldemort was doing and then closing it off. So he was kind of keeping track of him, but not letting it interrupt the moments that he was in. Just to, I don't know.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that was mine.
There's good moments in these
Yeah, that was
chapters.
good.
Yeah, I think the conversations with Griphook and Ollivander specifically, that was like I was loving it. Like holding the book so tight. This is amazing. But I think my favorite moment might be more like what Kristen, like what you would kind of say, the cozy moments, the moments with Luna and Ollivander and saying goodbye, the crackling fire, the meals with friends. Like it was just very warm and friendly and safe, and I thought that was good. And we even got to end the chapter still feeling good. What a rarity!
I know.
There was a moment where I like paused.
Oh,
I'm like,
wow.
oh, I feel too good right now. What's about to happen?
Yeah.
It's true.
So yeah, I did feel like that was good. But Ollivander, yeah, all of this. These were good
Yeah,
chapters. I don't
they
mind
were.
these calms before the storm.
I love I think my favorite is maybe sad, but I love the gratification that Harry feels when he's burying Dobby.
Yeah.
Using his own sweat and dirt. I'm like, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like giving him a meaningful goodbye. I think that's great. Sad. Hot tamale?
I said Luna.
Luna, yeah.
I'm
We'll
going
go with
Lupin.
Yeah, respect.
Ooh, that was
respect.
good. What about
That's a good one.
Teddy? Oh, little baby hat tamale.
Little baby tamale. Aw.
And mini
With his flaming
tamale.
hair.
Yeah.
So it does feel like the baby's gonna have Tonks things, right?
Yeah.
Like a Metamorphomagus. I think that's
and
cool.
then looks part werewolf. Like they're like,
Yeah, like,
looks
will it be a werewolf
Lupin. I'm
too?
like,
Like, huh?
when? What form?
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. All right, well, we are going to listen right now, but I'm going to end this stream and then we'll start the other one later. But thanks for joining us on our journey of Harry Potter and the First Time Readers. All right, you guys ready to listen? If you
Ready.
have to go too.
How long is it?
Like 40 minutes.
All right.
So you're a reader too, so if you want to peace out,
Yeah.
you guys can't peace out. 'Cause you guys
We're
are
locked in.
Yeah. Do you guys mind if I go?
No, do what you got to do.
I like kind of.
Everyone jump over to stream number 2. We're starting.
Stream number 2. Well,
I'm ending this stream. We'll start the next one.